David Rode. I'm the Deputy Director of PennPAC, and I am here today with Jackie Einstein Astroff, the founder of PennPAC. And as part of our consultant training, we're going to talk a little bit today about the history of the organization. So Jackie, welcome.
Thank you. Good
Of
morning.
course. So if you can, let's start at the basics. What was your motivation for starting PennPAC?
Sure. So PennPAC's been around for a long time at this point. We started in 2010 when it was a figment of my imagination that helping nonprofits after the economic downturn of 2008 would be great by providing pro bono consulting services. It's a model I had seen elsewhere, and I thought it could really be applied successfully in New York and with Penn alumni of various backgrounds. And we've grown a lot since then. It's sort of 250-ish nonprofits that we worked with later, but that's our history.
It's a great legacy, and it's wonderful that here we are, 14 plus years later, and the organization is still going strong. So, what are some of the milestones that you are most proud of along the way?
So when we first started, we were just here in New York, working with local alumni and local nonprofits. And very quickly we grew to having a chapter in Philadelphia and a few years later in the Bay Area. And then more recently, post-COVID or during COVID, to having more national presence where Penn alumni from all over the country could be involved in virtual projects as well. So that's definitely like the growth geographically has definitely been a milestone. And I think also two other things, I guess. The growth of program has been exciting. In the beginning, we were just doing our full consulting projects, which are the 6 to 8 alumni volunteers on a project team working over the course of about 10 weeks. And since then, we've really grown thoughtfully and slowly and carefully. I think when we introduced mini projects, that was really exciting. Sometimes those are add-on projects to clients that we've worked with, and then they want to double click on one aspect of our project. Sometimes it's working with a past client, 18 or even 2 months later, or even a couple of years later. Introducing our impact events was also a big milestone. I was seeing that some people love the idea of PennPAC, but the notion of working over 10 weeks or even with the mini projects that are a little bit shorter and a little more flexible was still more than they could accommodate in their schedule. So we have these impact events that are one-night events. Two of the events that we do each year are virtual, so they're open to alumni really anywhere in the country, in the world, as long as the the time works for where they are. And most recently, the two last things that I'm excited about are the introduction of our coaching program. It's similar to Impact in that it's a one-off opportunity to work with a nonprofit. In that context, it's it's a smaller group. It's almost like the analog of the mini project to the full consulting project, where we have 2 or 3 alumni working virtually with a nonprofit. And then David, lastly, PennPAC University is the last addition to our repertoire. That's a little bit more behind the scenes, where you've been working with nonprofit groups to teach them about the nonprofit, to help them with some tricks in nonprofit, but also introduce them to PennPAC. So I know it's a long answer, but I feel like there's been so many milestones along the way, and I wanted to make sure we covered all of them.
That's important. There's a lot of ways for people to engage. And you've covered from the programmatic side what some of those look like. There's also some opportunities for people to be involved sort of in the infrastructure of PennPAC. What are some of those opportunities?
Yeah. So we realized that in the beginning, we were like, okay, we're going to run PennPAC, and then everyone's going to want to be on a project team. And we realized there were so many more opportunities than just working with the nonprofit clients. So at this point, we have what's called the PennPAC core, and there are many, many ways to work behind the scenes on the actual putting together the project team. So the first two are the VRT, which is the volunteer relations team. And those are alumni volunteers that have been on a project or two. So they have a sense of what it's like to be working on a project team, and they interview new alumni who are interested in participating in PennPAC. So that is definitely one fun way for people to get involved. On the other side, we have the nonprofit selection team, the NST, which they're the group obviously who works together to interview and vet potential nonprofits that have applied and select the next round of nonprofits that we're working with. And then we also have many other ways to get involved. We have several folks working on ad hoc basis on marketing, on social media. We have a small group that's helping with supporting our technology needs, both our very elaborate Salesforce database at this point, our website, our social, and also people working on our fundraising. As any nonprofit, PennPAC also has costs in its infrastructure, and we don't have a fundraising or development person that we have hired, so we rely on committees and folks to help us with fundraising.
I guess the last thing I want to touch on, which is as we know, has been sometimes it's not completely understood, but how is PennPAC connected to the University of Pennsylvania?
Right. So we are actually a separate entity. We are a separate 501c3 nonprofit corporation. We have a great relationship with Penn. Penn will advertise our call for volunteers periodically. They've hosted an event or two over the course of time, but we really work quite independently. I think that one of the biggest benefits is it allows us to be nimble and sort of run our own show without having to check in or go to committee. In fact, I think that's probably one of our biggest assets in general, is sort of our small, nimble nature, that we're able to respond to things that we see happening and very quickly address them.
But importantly, just for clarification, we don't receive funding. PennPAC doesn't receive funding from the university. So, you know, as PennPAC has paid staff and PennPAC has opportunities to grow, it really needs to sort of supply those. It needs to figure it out on its own way. And
and we've done a great job of that. In the beginning, we really had a very, very small budget and we were completely volunteer run. But now, as our staff and the complexity and robustness of our model has expanded, we've done more fundraising beyond our board. We have an advisory board that are all very philanthropically generous to the organization. We rely on the consultants. Usually at the end of a project term, they'll make a small donation to sort of pay it forward, and other Penn alumni, others focused on just helping nonprofits in their communities, whether it's New York, Philly, the Bay Area, really anywhere. We're starting to see donors from different places, and a very few foundation and corporate donors, but hopefully we'll find some more of those in the coming months and years.
Cool. Jackie, thank you so much. This has been really helpful, and I'm sure our consultants feel like they have a better handle on some of the backstory behind the organization. So thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure, and welcome to our new alumni volunteers. We're happy to have you, and stay in touch with David, with Karen, with Cynthia, with me. If there's any ways that you want to push in and do things that are a little bit off script, we're happy to talk to you. Or if you just don't know how to find out how to get involved with something, you know, let us know. We're happy to have you, and we think of ourselves as the PennPAC family, and we welcome you to it.